how can we limit our exposure to obesogens? Now, right now, I'm not talking about the obesogenic environment that we live in, because this fat-promoting environment that's because of the availability of all this food, the answer to that is to develop the skills of eating and control your environment and your habitat a little bit so you're not constantly tempted to eat all the time these kind of foods. But when we're talking about obesogens, chemicals or things that we don't really understand what the effect is in our body, how can we know to avoid something when we don't even know it exists, or if it's a problem and it might be a problem for one person and not for a problem for the other person? Is there any way to limit our exposure to this? Well, there's a couple things that you can do. And the first is just develop your general knowledge that these things exist and that there are things in your environment that you aren't aware of that you might be ingesting or putting on your skin, and that they're cumulative over time. So what we're looking to do is to say, if your exposure is this high, then how can we just lower it? Because when you're lowering it, you're doing a better job. It doesn't have to be an on-off thing like smoking or not smoking. We just want to try and limit it, because when we don't know what it is, less is better until we have some more information. So this is where I tell people that there is real value in organics and real value in knowing where your food comes from. Because definitely a big source of these is coming from the additives in our food and in the food processing. That food needs to be able to be tastier and cheaper every single year. And to do that, to accomplish that, the food producers are needing to put more and more synthetic and artificial chemicals in the food that stimulate our taste buds, that stimulate us to respond in a certain sort of way. So a lot of times people will tell me, well, I would like to eat organic, but I can't afford it. But this is one of the ways where you have to start to make decisions of, you know, what can I look at? What pesticides? You could just say, well, I'd like to just generally decrease my exposure to pesticides. Or there's genetic modification of organisms. Those are GMOs that aren't marked on packages. Or there's hormones added to the feed of animals. When you start to educate yourself about what these mean, then you can start to chip off either a little bit or a lot of the obesogens in the environment. Now, the way that we always traditionally learned how to eat before was from the people in our community, the other skillful eaters. And now we don't have many skillful eaters in our community. But that's where the answer really is. Check out the locavores, check out the slow food movement, go to an organic food store, start to talk to people. Now, a lot of organic food stores are going to have a lot of supplements that are intended to supplement the diet. And those are the money makers because they're manufactured. What we really want to do is to start thinking about shopping around the perimeter of the grocery store, going to the farmer's market, going to a place. You know, what I do is I go out to where I get my beef and where I get my chickens and where I get my eggs. And I know the people who provide them for me. And I have a personal relationship with them. And that actually takes a lot of time and effort on my part that most of the time I feel like, oh, it's so inconvenient. I just can't deal with it. But the more educated I became, the more I realized that this had to be a priority. If I really cared about myself, and I really care about taking care of my body, I really need to care about what goes in it. And I think it was Donald Trump who said, can you imagine what it would be like if people were told on their 16th birthday they got the car, the one car that would have to last their lifetime? How would they treat that car? They would treat it very, very well because they would know you never get another one. But we never get another body. We don't treat our body like it's the home for our us. We treat it like it's a rental, and we just trash it and think we can move on and just get a new body. And where is that new body supposed to come from? Well, I know because I'm on that side of it as well. There's a part of people's brain who really think that doctors can fix everything that's wrong with you. And you know this because we talk about health insurance. Like, if you get sick, I need to have health insurance so I can get better. There is no insurance for health. There isn't something you can purchase to make sure you're healthy. This is something that you have to do for yourself. Health insurance is just help insurance. So if you do get sick, you have money to help you get well, but it won't give you a new body. You only get one. So you have to start to prioritize, and your brain will not let you make these decisions until you really feel what goes into your body is more important than a lot of times what goes on your body, like your shoes and your clothes and other things that we spend a lot of money on and surround ourselves with. And those are important to us because we live with other people and we care what other people think. So ultimately, the best solution is to start to hang around a little bit more with people who care more about what goes in their body. And you will feel nurtured and supported by those people so that you feel that the decisions that you make are a lot more valid and worthwhile. If you don't do that and you're out on a limb, it gets really lonely and you become worried that you're wasting your money and wasting your time and that you're getting ripped off. So it's really important to change your environment of who you're interacting with. And there are people who care a lot about this, and they're not necessarily all crunchy, chewy, granola, hippie people, or crazy people, or conspiracy theory people. They're just people who want to find out how to get real food, and they can help you find out how to get real food too, instead of just being stuck with food facsimiles. And real food tastes good. We just often don't know that. We assume that it's not going to taste as good because it doesn't really stimulate our taste buds like those chemicals. But real food tastes wonderful because it's filled with nourishment, and our brains love to be nourished. So when you give an opportunity to eat this real food, your brain will say, yes, I'd like some more of that. And you don't need to have huge amounts. You can get by with a little amount and stretchers, just like how everyone has done over time. And the best way to find out how to manage it on a budget is to start to talk to other people who are managing it on a budget. And there's a lot of them out there, and we just need to contact them.